Okay, so this is Twitter's entertainment evolution. My name is Sabrina Velis.
And I'm Lawson. The focus of our project was to understand the connection between Twitter and entertainment, as well as how the combined use of the media has gradually changed. The first question we asked ourselves was, how do brands utilize Twitter to increase audience engagement? Well, through our research, we found that in the beginning, Twitter was initially intended for people to share their statuses and broadcast their experiences with friends, family, or anyone who would listen. Then the idea of influencer marketing was formed. Influencers could be like people like Hollywood stars, political leaders, or anyone that was in the public eye. Several influencers were actually born out of having large followings and providing entertainment content. This influx of influencers ended up inspiring advertising firms and brand owners to market products and services. And then media companies got involved to attract more viewers.
In our literary review, we saw that companies tend to focus on the channels in which they feel most confident and comfortable. Companies' goals are to be relatable to the audience, and the use of social media influencers instigates conversation. Social media has remained optional in the business world. However, the industry is slowly starting to shift towards branding and marketing within sites like Twitter. Charlene Lee, co-founder of the Altimeter Group, predicted in 2010 that if companies don't start using social media, they would be completely diminished in 5 to 10 years' time. Twitter helps create a customer base by the use of entertaining content that customers might enjoy.
Now, as Sabrina said, the use of entertaining content helps companies and brand owners create a customer base. In order to really understand how they create their customer base, we asked the following research questions. This is where the polls came in handy. The first question was, what was social media's original purpose and how has that purpose changed over time? Well, we learned from the literature that it was intended for entertainment purposes and that it's become a tool for marketing. The second question was, what made businesses and brands want to use Twitter as a channel for marketing? We learned from the research here that it is due to Twitter's ease of use, immediacy, and the platform's ability to reach clients worldwide. That was very important for brand owners, marketers and advertisers to really get a hold of clients worldwide and to be able to interact with them immediately. Then we asked the question, how do businesses use Twitter to market their brands? Well, this was a little bit more complicated. This was also one of our more important questions because the answers varied. But there was one constant. As the literature explains, the ability to use stars and celebrities to promote a brand utilizing content that focuses on creating stimulating media in 4 engagement categories. And these 4 engagement categories are attention, emotion, information, and opinion.
In our method, we saw that Twitter polls have been administered and completed by 30 of 1,500 active viewers. The 1,500 viewer average is collected from Twitter Analytics, all Twitter users' impression data, and the respondents' individual audience impression data. The study also included data about student users gathered from a survey administered using Qualtrics software. Random students, employees, and business owners completed the survey. The majority of the Qualtrics survey respondents are students. A smaller percent are employees of a corporation or organization, and entrepreneurs were the smallest group. The surveys began with demographics information. Demographic information for the polls and interviews were collected using Twitter Analytics and unfollowerstats.com. There was also in-depth questions about usage with an emphasis on the frequency of creating or interacting with tweets that feature entertainment or entertaining content. General personal questions regarding entertainment likes and dislikes were randomly placed. The age range was from 18 to 45. 52% were men, 45% were women, 3% prefer not to answer, 70% are small business owners, 25% are employees of a corporation, and 5% are brand owners. In the survey demographics, we got 73 responses. Out of those 73, we had 70 of which gave their complete demographic information. Of those 70 people, 25 identified as male, 44 identified as female, and 1 identified as non-binary. The demographics included entrepreneurs, college students, and business owners of all genders. The average age range was from 18 to 35. 75% of those people were between 18 to 25. The ethnicities ranged from Hispanic to Latino to African American to any other race. So out of those ethnicities, 53% were Hispanic or Latino, 16% were Asian or Pacific Islander, 18% were Caucasian, 5% were African American, and 7% were other. Out of those people, we had different types of college education levels. So 53% had no degree, 19% had their associates, 11% had a bachelor's degree, and 3% had a technical or vocational degree. Those salaries, out of those people who took the survey, ranged from less than $20,000 a year to over $100,000 a year. 42% made 20 or less, 8% made 20 to 30, 17% made $30 to $50,000, 10% made $50 to $75, 11% made $75 to $100,000, and 8% made over $100,000 a year.
Of the 70 respondents, only 40 of them actually use Twitter. So we surveyed these users to find out the reasons why they interact with the media tool. To do so, we formulated 4 hypotheses before we administered the Qualtrics survey. The results of the survey support the research. The first hypothesis was that local respondents who use Twitter do so to engage entertaining tweets. We found that 73% of Twitter users engage entertaining content, 10% of users engage informational content, and 10% of users engage motivational content. Less than 5% engage news content, and 3% engage spiritual content. The second hypothesis was that respondents will also use Twitter in conjunction to other social media platforms and follow an average of 100 to 200 users. Now, the majority of respondents favor Instagram as a social media tool, so that made our results a little bit marginal. However, the majority of respondents follow an average of 100 to 500 Twitter users, so that was definitely supported. Our third hypothesis was that respondents use Twitter for an average of 2.5 hours a day and post an average of 5 tweets daily. We found that 38% of the respondents spend 1 to 2 hours a day on Twitter, 29% of the respondents spend less than an hour on Twitter, and 24% of the respondents spend 3 to 4 hours a day on Twitter. Less than 7% spend 5 hours and 2% spend 4 to 5 hours. Now, our fourth hypothesis was that respondents are more likely to tweet and retweet engaging content as well as animated GIF images. Now, we found that 50% of the respondents engage with comical content, 24% of the respondents engage with informational content, and 10% engage with inspirational content. Less than 7% engage with motivational content, 4% do not engage with Twitter content, and 2% engage in spiritual content. And what we found was that the majority of the people who engage in this content like to mostly engage in video and animated GIFs. In conclusion, 2 of our hypotheses were completely supported and 2 were marginally supported. This is because most respondents prefer to use Instagram rather than Twitter, and because the amount of time respondents spend on Twitter may actually be a little bit less, considering that most of the people do not really keep track of the time they spend on social media. Users still view content, tweet, and retweet, but not as frequent as they post or like on Instagram. Lastly, the most engaged content on Twitter, according to the results of the Qualtrics survey, is comedy. I mean, with 50% of respondents preferring to engage in comical content, that's entertainment for the win. Thank you again for listening, and we hope you enjoyed our presentation of Twitter's entertainment evolution.